And we're back. Welcome back for semi-finals. I have with me here Mark.
Hello, I'm Mark.
Hi, Mark. We've got our own Brendan Robeson versus Alister here in the semi-finals match.
Is Alister not our own?
Alister is also our own.
But Alister's sitting next to you, so please no Dondozo or Ndidi hate, and my players are good, okay?
Brendan Robeson here with Ndidi and Dondozo Tatsugiri, which means I wish him ill. No, it is an interesting team. Those who watched the previous matches will know it beat me. But that's fine. He's now up against our very own Alister Sandover, who is definitely no pushover. Multiple regional winner, multiple world championship player, generally very talented player, and also running Dondozo Tatsugiri.
And he said coming into today that he was running the Turn the Brain Off team with Miraidon and Tatsudozo.
Well, I'm just looking at it, I'm thinking that's exactly the kind of team that I would run, so it must be a pretty brainless team.
Excuse me, takes all brain power, and Alister needs to come out of the closet and embrace Dondozo with me. Go ahead.
Come out of the closet as someone with brain power who uses Dondozo. I think most Dondozo players will agree you can go to sleep and win games with that thing on the field. Silence from the gallery, please.
Personally, I think it's harder than it. Like, at the very least, I'm not much of a Dozo player, so I don't know from experience. But my intuition would be that it would be harder than ever to play Dozo in a restricted meta because there's the power level of things that can just blow it up, and not like it can't just sit there and boost and leftover recovery against would be so many more teams, right? Like.
There is a possibility of that. However, and the players lead out onto the field with Brendan Robeson leading Calyrex Shadow Rider and Urshifu Rapid Strike across from Chiyu and Dondozo.
They're too nervous to eat berries.
They are certainly too nervous to eat berries.
Not that I think any of them have any, but...
No, leftovers I feel like should be considered a berry, but by the same token I don't think Calyrex needs a buff.
Yeah.
So, Calyrex stopping leftovers from being eaten would be, I think, a bit much.
Now, it's an interesting matchup, this. Both teams having the Tatsudozo, fairly similar, but Alister's restricted being the Miraidon means he has the ability to put quite a bit more pressure onto Robeson's Dozo than Robeson has himself, especially given one of Robeson's main tools to pressure the Dozo being his Cali Shadow Rider, and Alister having the Chiyu, putting a lot of pressure on it himself. But we do see here Robeson leading with the Rapid Strike so that he can threaten that Chiyu.
And Alister straight away switching in the Tatsugiri for Dondozo to proc Commander. And Brendan Robeson going for the Terra Water Urshifu.
What was the thoughts behind that Terra Water, Brendan?
I was assuming Alister would Terra Ghost the Chiyu, so I was like, nah, you're going down. But yeah, nah, predicted it.
If you've played him a lot, you'd know that he doesn't commit Terra turn 1 particularly often. But
that could be the one time he changed it up, you know?
So, just to confirm, Tatsugiri is currently not in Dondozo because Weezing is on the field?
Yes, there's no boosting happening currently with Weezing sitting there.
Interesting. I thought Commander was an immutable ability, but I guess not.
No, I don't think it's ever been. Weezing has always had the enviable ability to stop Dozo from being able to combine with Tatsugiri and get those boosts. And as a physical wall, Weezing can really just sit there in front of Dondozo. Quite a good mon for the matchup, I think, if it can keep itself safe from that special attacking Scarf Tatsugiri.
That's right. Deny them combining, and on top of that, the poison really chips it at every turn, so yeah, it feels good to have Weezing in the matchup.
For context to our viewers, this is a Toxic Spikes Poison Gas Weezing set. The goal, I suppose, being to set up poison on all of the opposing mons so that Dozo can outlast while they get chipped down.
Yep. And it seems to work against opposing Dondozo as well, although Alister, realizing he's not going to be able to get his commander boost, switches the Tatsugiri out to preserve it, bringing in his restricted Miraidon.
Interestingly, the wheezing play from Robeson really changing up Alister's decision to commit to the Tatsu Dozo, because instead of being a turn 1 switch into the combination and committing to that Tatsu Dozo playstyle, Wheezing has actually given him the ability to pivot out into Miraidon, which he wouldn't have been able to do before.
That is very true. Whether or not that's a benefit or detriment is a bit unclear, although if anyone is able to make use of the extra ability to reposition, it would be Alister Sandover.
This is an Assault Vest Miraidon. The view from inside the Dondozo, that's pretty good. This is an Assault Vest Miraidon, by the way. So.
Still taking a fair chunk from that Astral Barrage. Miraidon
quite well, to be honest.
Also, unfortunately, not getting the electric terrain boost, once again thanks to Wheezing, which means the Calyrex will survive, but it won't survive the double up. Calyrex Shadow Rider is taken down there by the Wave Crash, which makes Brendan Robeson down 1 restricted.
No, difficult to, even without the terrain boosting Miraidon and the stats boosting on Dozo, I think difficult for Shadow Rider to live a double up like that without Indeedee on the field, perhaps to redirect.
Yes, it certainly doesn't have the same bulk as his brother, the Ice Rider variant.
In hindsight, I should have poisoned gas there. Bone.
It's okay, you were just getting ready for the Tatsugiri to come back out onto the field.
True.
Urshifu coming back out, putting some offensive pressure on the Miraidon. Is this Scarf?
It is, it's Scarf Rapid Strike. You've got the team sheet here if you need.
Thank you.
Well, that's Alister's. That's Robeson's.
Yeah. So with the Scarf, that close combat is putting on a lot of offensive pressure, may even be threatening the knockout on the Miraidon. Meanwhile, Dondozo is not looking too crash hot in terms of its HP. It could also be at risk of taking a knockout from potentially either one of these two Pokemon, but with the added threat of not being able to protect against Urshifu.
Certainly the Dondozo in a more precarious situation than it was the previous turn, but still a difficult decision for Brendan here, having to choose which mon to target with that close combat, knowing the Tatsugiri could come into that Miraidon slot. But we see him here taking out the Miraidon and evening the game up with 0 restricteds apiece.
And Wave Crash coming out, still not able to take out that Wheezing. Alister is really suffering from the lack of commander boost, and his Dondozo is seriously under threat here. Even if Tatsugiri were to come back out into the field, Wheezing still hasn't been taken out, which means it would not be able to get the commander boost.
You do get the poison gas off here, so
True.
why do you say it was a misplay not to do it the previous turn?
Would have got the extra chip, I assume.
Extra chip.
You could have protected
This
this
wasn't the worst play, but yeah, the extra chip would have been nice.
So you didn't have T-spikes down, did you? That's what you did, right? So now this Chi-Yu's sash is broken, so that is... Although against a rapid strike, that's not necessarily the biggest benefit, given that you can take it out from full.
Definitely not a good spot here for Alister. He's lost his own restricted. His Dondozo was on low health and poison. And this Chi-Yu is staring down a Urshifu Rapid Strike with Choice Scarf, which means he doesn't really have a lot of counterplay available to him at the moment. Brendan Robeson forgetting the functionality of a Choice Scarf and trying to select other moves.
I was being wishful.
Not a choice item expert like Alister is here with 3 choice items on his team.
Because, I'm trapped here because it can tear a ghost now, so I can't hit it.
We interviewed Alister Sandover after the match, and the one thing he would say to our reporters is, I would have run 4 choice items if I could have.
Hey, well, Assault Vest is kind of a... It feels like a spiritual choice item.
Yeah, I'd say it's the D'Artagnan to the choice items.
Yeah, you don't get an offensive boost, but it still removes your ability to use
Protect
a whole lot of moves. Yes, it's interesting though. It's cool. It's cool to see 2 different teams.
Ooh, the burn on Urshifu. It's very unfortunate for the young Robeson.
That is a very rough burn. I mean, not being able to pivot out and unlock himself from close combat being rough already, but that That really does put the bow on things.
We do actually just have a report coming in live from the experts in the analysis room, and they're saying that was a skill issue.
Thank you for that analysis, I assume, Sliff.
But yeah, keeping in the Urshifu, I've got no way to hit the Chiyu now, so I've kind of cornered myself here.
That is quite unfortunate. However, we all know from previous games that Ndidi is in fact a offensive powerhouse.
Well, he has Tear It Out of the Dark type, so you can at the very least, like, you have the ability to, what do you have, Psyshock on that thing? So, yes, you do.
Psyshock, which is extra good into Chiyu because Chiyu is not known for having a high defense stat.
Funny I read my team sheets this well on the day.
Unfortunately, I don't think it's going to matter because Ndidi dies after Chiyu looks at it. So,
yeah, it's a good start for Robeson, but not paying a little bit more care to make sure the Urshifu doesn't get locked into close combat against the potential Terra Ghost.
That burn from Chiyu really you're paying dividends to Alister, as that Tatsugiri does not take nearly enough damage from the close combat. Not that it's going to matter. Robeson down to his last Pokemon, unable to use any moves other than close combat against a ghost type means this game is effectively over.
Not necessarily, like, depending...
So what do you mean not necessarily? He can't hit it.
Spoiler, it's over.
Yeah, yes, but, like, it's on red HP and poisoned. If that Urshifu was either at full HP or had...
Which it isn't.
Yeah, which it isn't, of course, but, like, if he was in a similar situation, but, say, hadn't terrored, right, he resists both of Chiyu's stabs, resists the muddy water. Both of those mons are poisoned and quite low. There could have been an out. There could have been an out if the game was just a little different.
Yes, but the game wasn't a little different. One could also argue that Alister would have won that game if he had a +6 speed, +6 special attack Calyrex Shadow Rider on his side of the field. But that wasn't the case.
I want it on the record that I lost not because I positioned my Urshifu poorly, it's because I got banned, okay? Just got knocked out.
Just getting another report from the analysis desk. They say get good.
No, but I don't think without Decorate on this team, we don't have to worry about a +6 Kelly Shadow Rider. But the scenarios that our players do have to think about are those slight adjustments which can drastically affect the end game scenarios. So let's see what both any of our players will do differently.
Not only is Alister Perth's king of positioning, he's also the prince of adjustments. Many titles out here that he has. It's definitely a threat for Brendan as...
All right, and we're back after some slight technical difficulties.
Jared fiddled with the keyboard.
He certainly did. Looks like Brendan is considering a very similar breed to what he brought in the first game. Obviously, when you are running a Dondozo Tatsugiri team, despite the many benefits it gives, it does lack versatility, because if you are going to bring one, 90% of the time you're going to bring both. So either it's all or nothing with 2 Pokemon on the team rather than 1, which restricts your options when you're considering which 4 to bring to any given game.
On the contrary, I feel like at the very least, like Tatsugiri can come without Dondozo, and in fact the fact that Tatsu and Dozo go together so often can really create mind games where if you bring the Tatsu without Dozo, it can lead to your opponent playing differently. But in fact, speaking of playing differently, we see the Goldingo on the lead for Alister. An interesting choice, threatened by the CSR, but very good into all of the other mons on Robeson's team, able to trick that choice specs onto any of the physical attackers, or the wheezing would be a big issue for Robeson.
It certainly would. Obviously, you don't mess with the Prince of Adjustments, as he is in a interesting spot here, although his Go definitely threatened by this Calyrex. Both of Brendan's Pokemon are moving before both of Alister's Pokemon, with Calyrex having an ungodly speed stat and Urshifu having the Choice Scarf item.
Some cool tech you see on Robeson's mons there, with the Rock Tomb on Urshifu Rapid to slow things down, and the Pollen Puff on the Kali Shadow. Both quite cool tech options.
But Pollen Puff is a really good move on Kali Shadow, and I think it is very rarely... Oh my goodness, that is a fantastic prediction.
What a call, dude. Wow.
Clicking close combat into a ghost type, predicting the terrestrialization.
Got him.
Yeah, take back what I said last game about not committing terrors on turn 1 thing. Yeah, well called, dude.
Excellent call, and this is a single target Astral Barrage. Probably won't pick up the KO, but still does more than half, which is very respectable into an Assault Vest.
I can't believe it is taking those so well, to be honest. But
that is good night, Urshifu.
I don't think the
Critical hit not mattering all that much.
I don't. I mean, what's your spread on Urshi Rapid there?
Max special defense, max HP.
Yeah, I think
I'll run that calculator. The analysis
I
desk.
think Fault Switch would have killed that anyway.
I'm just getting word from the experts on the analysis desk. They say you're full of crap.
You've got the Wheezing in the back, but if we're out on lead, maybe without the terrain, Urshifu would have had a chance of being able to live that move. But even so, Miraidon with the 135 special attack stat, I believe.
Yes.
I think a Volt Switch off of that is going to kill the relatively specially weak Urshifu.
Urshifu having, I believe, 60 base special defense.
That sounds right.
Yeah.
100, 160.
Yes, so very strong on the physical side, but can be a bit prone to special attacks. Urshifu there demonstrating the craftsmanship of Generation 9 as it half clips through the floor.
We've got Wheezing popping onto the field right at the perfect moment to stop that Tatsu Dozo combination again here.
And allowing Tatsugiri to be almost taken out entirely by this Calyrex Shadow Rider. Notably also Calyrex Shadow Rider moving before the Tatsugiri, even though Tatsugiri is holding the Choice Scarf item.
So Tatsu has, I believe it's 84 base speed.
If that sounds right.
With Scarf, I'm not even sure that can outspeed Kali Shadow. I think if it can, it might be close, but this could always be the modest Scarf variant. I believe Adamant Scarf Urshifu creeps Timid Max Kali Shadow by 1, and that's 97.
Yes.
So if this is anything but a timid Tatsugiri, and even then,
That's a maybe.
may not be able to outspeed the Calyrex even with that Choice Scarf.
Well, regardless, Brendan's got himself into a fantastic position here. Golden Go has been taken out. Tatsugiri has been taken out. Dondozo is on low health and poisoned. And Miraidon is on 50 HP. We know as well this Miraidon does take that amount of damage from a single target Astral Barrage. Probably won't be taken out by a spread target Astral Barrage, but this does mean that Alister is going to be in an extremely precarious situation going into the final couple of turns.
Yes, notably the Calyrex didn't get any special attack boosts there, despite being able to take out 2 Mons. So no ability for Robeson to just click Astral Barrage and take the final 2 KOs there. He has to play very carefully to not get beaten by that Electro Drifting Miraidon. And so he pivots into the Indeedee.
Yep. That Protect, excellent read to avoid taking an Electro Drift from that Miraidon. Not choice specs, but still threatening an insane amount of damage with the electric terrain on the field.
Interestingly, I think he may have been in a better position to have the Wheezing get KO'd there, because he could have then brought Kali Shadow straight back in with the Indeedee on the field. Now, because the endgame he wants is to have that Calyrex Shadow next to Indeedee, but now Indeedee is vulnerable without having the Kali Shadow on the field to pressure, so we'll see how Alister responds.
That is a very excellent point. And the Dondozo protecting means it will likely fate this turn, but it does mean that the Dazzling Gleam coming out from Wheezing is going to do less damage, as it is still considered to be a spread move rather than a single target. And Electro Drift coming out here, and Indeedee lives.
That's a big ol' live.
That is a fantastic live. Definitely keeping Robeson in the game there, although at this point I don't think there's a lot of doubt.
Yeah, that Dazzling Gleam is enough damage into the Assault Vest Miraidon that Kali Shadow Astral Barrage is going to be able to pick it up now from the back. Doesn't need the Indeedee to wait for Calyrex to come out. good enough to support the wheezing here.
I think at this point it won't actually matter as the Dondozo has gone down, which means the Astral Barrage will once again be a single target attack. But it is always good to play around things like damage rolls and other variables that you might not be considering. So definitely a fantastic position for Brendan. I think Alister has realized that as well.
Here he is throwing the final KO to the wheezing. But Alister forfeits. A good adjustment in game 2, but I think...
It looks like the Prince of Adjustments has been dethroned.
But it's a prince to a king. Why be a king when you can be a god?
Is that Eminem?
Yeah.
I was thinking of Kanye West.
No, it's me and it's me and him.
Okay.
But that turn 1 call from Robeson really changing the course of that match, I think. Really setting him up for success. But let's see if he can do it again in game 3. Alister, be surprised if he brings the Goldengo again after the treatment it got in that turn 1.
Well, I don't think you can ever discount a Pokemon due to a single bad read, although maybe he will realize that he was pincered by Urshifu and Calyrex, knowing that he either feints to the Astral Barrage or feints to the close combat.
It's definitely a difficult lead if Robeson is to bring those same 2 Mons. A difficult lead for the Goldengo anyway, because I think the Chi-Yu, the Dragonite, there are some other options there that can stand up to that lead combo. Maybe not the Chi-Yu.
Yeah, I mean, it would really come down to, stat spreads, bulk distribution, things like that. But I think, the weakness of a hyper offense team, as someone who exclusively plays hyper offense teams, is coming up against a team that is faster and more hyper offense than you in one way or another. And I think the Scarf, Urshifu, and the Calyrex with its base speed really just output an insane amount of pressure to Alister's side of the field.
Yeah, really makes you think about how valuable it was for Alister in that first game to be able to get that double into the Kelly Shadow Rider. Having that thing out of the picture really just unlocks his capabilities on this team.
Yeah, I think that is definitely the key to winning, is to take out the Calyrex. But here we go again. Alister with the same leads.
Robeson switching it up though.
Yes, I mean, this blocks the...
True, we don't see any...
This blocks the electric terrain.
We don't see any Hadron Engine being set up, so Miraidon having its offensive capabilities nerfed immediately here. Goldengo is still being threatened by the Calyrex Shadow. Perhaps keeping the Urshifu safe in the back. Quite a good play for Brendan here, given that he's still got the same offensive pressure. Although we may have to see how well a Calyrex can tank a hit from the
Choice Specs make it rain.
The unboosted Miraidon, I was going to say. But,
okay, well that too.
But if... I suppose the Goldengo can Terra freely here, not have to worry about being close combated.
That is true, and that looks like it might be exactly what Alister is going for. Once again, the turn 1 Terra Steel on the Goldengo, which does keep it safe from Astral Barrage, but also just means it's outputting an insane amount of pressure with that Choice Specs make it rain.
I didn't catch, did Robeson protect there on his Calyrex?
He did click protect on the Calyrex,
okay.
Which means it will be staying safe this turn, which is fortunate, because otherwise it was definitely going good night.
The Terra Grass on the Wheezing, perhaps to try and survive the resist electric, but...
It does resist electric, it does...
Weakness to steel, but does that let him live a Specs Terra Steel make it rain?
I would be not surprised if it does come out of this still on the board. Galarian Weezing does tend to be built incredibly tanky when people are designing their teams, and if this is not a super effective hit, it is going to survive.
On count.
What was it actually?
Kelked, was it as really?
Wow.
Brendan Robeson calls from the gallery.
My goodness, that is a very tactical Terra decision then, to be able to live that hit. That's very nice to see, but now the Calyrex on the field still and can't protect. has the ability to lay down some damage, but I don't think an Astral Barrage would KO that Goldengo now that it's teared out of the Ghost weakness, and we know it's only doing about half to the Miraidon. So
It probably less than half without the spread damage, but I don't think it'll pick one up on the Goldengo as well. Goldengo is quite a well-started Pokemon with a decent bulk stat.
And we see Robeson sacrificing his Cali Shadow here to lay a bit of damage down on these two threats. I wonder if that was really the wisest use of it.
Well, you have two choices here. You either leave the Calyrex Shadow Rider in and deal as much damage as it can before getting taken out, or you switch it out and whatever comes in just eats a Volt Switch and a Make It Rain.
Is true. His switch options are a Shifu to resist the Make It Rain would have gotten knocked out by the Volt Switch, and was it Indeedee the other one in the back?
We've actually seen he's got Dondozo and Tatsugiri in the back.
He does.
So he definitely doesn't want to make a switch into a lot of damage with either of those, because losing either of those pieces would be devastating.
True, he's switched up his game plan in this game 3 here, bringing the Tatsudozo. That makes sense then why he wanted damage down on the Miraidon as soon as possible, because that thing really threatens the Dozo.
It certainly is a threat. I wonder what Robeson is going to do in this position, because Dondozo will likely be faster than both of these opposing Pokemon, but without the capability to damage both of them at the same time, he really does need to be careful about picking which one he's targeting.
He does have, that's Alister's that has the Earthquake.
Regardless of whether I had Earthquake, Dragonite flying above the ground means it's not going to take any damage from it anyway.
What, no gravity?
Yes, it doesn't seem like Robeson brought gravity to this particular match. Instead, he's going to have to just rely on the damage output that he has available to him with Dondozo.
It's the Tartare Sauce Sachet going right into the fish, right into the big fish.
Yeah.
This is a defense boosting Dondozo, as we can see with the Stretchy Tap. No, Stretchy's the yellow one.
It is Drupia, the Droopy Tatsugiri allows it to get the defense boost when it clicks Order Up. However, in this case, Brendan's just gone straight for the Body Press, which allows it to take out their Goldengo straight away. Alister going for the Aerial Ace on his Choice Band Dragonite, which seems like an unusual pick.
Maybe trying to call the Terra Grass, but that's Outrage still would have done this. Outrage would have done the same amount of damage calling a Terra there, but yes, does Outrage perhaps have the chance to target into the slot that it fails if Dozo is on the field?
I was about to ask, we'll need to check with the analysis desk.
Robeson is nodding.
Yeah, Outrage would be 50-50 the hit or not.
Well, that's a rough lock then.
That is really unfortunate. Just another reason I hate Tatsugiri mechanics.
Honestly, that's something that a lot of us have thought was a bug, or at least a programming oversight, that when Tatsu goes into Dondozo, moves can still be targeted into its slot and simply fail. Like when one mon is on the field, usually that is not how it is. It moves usually being redirected into the Dondozo, but we've never had any change of correction on that particular mechanic from Game Freak.
No, they did make a change to Dondozo as well by changing the Order Up boost when it's clicked into Protect, which is now no longer a thing. So they did have the opportunity to change more mechanics. It seems the rest of what remains with Dondozo is intentional. Now Dondozo, with the +2 special defense, not mattering at all.
Yeah.
From an Electro Drift on electric terrain.
Bye, buddy.
So here I'm making a huge mistake. I'm like, oh, it's a Assault Vest, my Dondozo will easily survive the attack, but
yeah.
I did not consider the Chi-Yu switching in.
Oh, do you think that made a difference?
I think it did.
Because this is, even though you do have that special defense boost from Commander, you're still staring down. This is electric terrain boosted Hadron Engine, Electro Drift. Let's not forget, Hadron Drift's ability is that, not Hadron Drift, right? Electro Drift's secondary effect is that it does extra damage when it is super effective. So those are a lot of multipliers there. I am not entirely sure that the Chi-Yu coming in would have made a difference, although I'd love for the analysis desk to make a calc on that one.
It has been called the most unnecessary secondary effect on a move ever, given that with the amount of multipliers Miraidons tend to have, if Electro Drift is super effective into something, it's dying anyway. But what do you think, Robeson? Do you think you could have a spec to that Dozo to live that?
My gut says I would have survived without the chi, but I'll double check the calcs later. Yeah.
I'm genuinely curious.
I would be incredibly surprised, but I have been proven wrong before. Wheezing protecting here to preserve its 2 HP.
We also don't know what the Miraidon spread was, whether it was Modest Max or something bulkier.
That is true. But given the amount of damage it's previously been outputting with its other moves, I would imagine there is at least enough damage there that it is taking out a Dondozo. I would also like to remind everyone that Dondozo does have a base 60 special defense, so even with the +2, it's not overly specially tanky.
The Sash Tatsugiri there being Robeson's last shot, but getting doubled into and not having the outspeed on either of these two Mons means it's going to be game for Alister, sending him through to the finals.
That is a fantastic victory for the... I've forgotten what nicknames I've given him. The Prince and King of various things.
I think he's retained his Prince of Positioning title after this one. And thanks for listening to our commentary here. Hope you'll join us for the finals. See you then.
Bye.